Okay, right. So I'm assuming that you've you mentioned your father in the advert in the
Yeah.
in the 1973 Pointers book there. So what is your background and what is your background in racing?
Well, my father Angus, he was a racecourse bookmaker. He had a couple of shops as well. Um, Greyhound pitch at the old Perry Bar track, not the one now. And I started going racing with him when I was sort of 14. I remember, well, one of my earliest memories, we went to Goodwood for Glorious Goodwood and rented a house for the week. He never had any money. We went to the races. He had pitches everywhere, north, east, everywhere. But we went to Goodwood, and he was a fair bookmaker, but he was definitely more punter minded. Decided that this horse was a certainty. It was called J.O. Tobin, ridden by Lester Piggott. So proceeded to take whatever he could. It was an odds-on chance, 5 to 4 on, I think. He proceeded to take as much money as he could out of all of the others, down the book with all of the others, and then, as it happened, J.O. Tobin won. Had J.O. Tobin not have won, I think that holiday would have been over, because I'm sure he couldn't have been able to pay out.
Okay, now I remember when I first started getting into racing, I was absolutely obsessed with professional punters. Now Barney Curley was the obvious one that was in the news at the time, mid to late 80s. Now your dad was, let me say, infamous for landing a few touches.
Yeah,
Definitely made a lot of press acres.
He did, because I think by that time he'd probably had one misdemeanour too many and lost his racecourse pitches. So he turned to punting, and as you say, yeah, he had a few well publicised coups. There was a horse called the County Player at Nottingham, where these days, if the horse is 12 to 1 on Betfair, the bookies will go 10. If it goes out to 14, they'll go 12. They just follow. Then it was a case of going to the bookmakers on the course and saying, well, if you put it 8 and you lay it, I'll lay you 10. If you put it 10, I'll lay you 12, and so on. So I think the County Player, he got it out to about 14 to 1 when it should have probably been about a 2 to 1 chance.
And that was called the classic knockout.
Yeah.
And it won, I assume.
Oh, yeah, very easily.
Were you attending the racing with him at these times?
I think I was probably walking around Soho putting scores on in every betting shop I could find, yeah.
Now one of the ones that I know about, because I had the cuttings for it, was Rachel's Delight.
Rachel's Delight, yeah. Wolverhampton, was it?
I think it was, yeah.
Again, I wouldn't have been at the races. I would have been with some others just putting on, because I think, then if you just went around putting £20 on, it didn't ring any alarm bells, because what you didn't want was the money to come back to the course and shorten the price, because it was all on at mostly SP, sometimes first show.
Now you hear about these things, every now and again. Barney Curley's done not a knockout, but a similar thing, getting the money on around the shops.
Yeah.
People might think that it was quite a common thing, but looking at these cuttings that I've got, it was actually something quite sophisticated for the time, what your dad was doing.
It was, and it wasn't easy to do, because you had to get the money on without it coming back to the track, as I say, and then you had to get the price out, and then the bloody thing had to win.
Yeah, so it was a case of finding a horse that was fit and ready to win, and then finding bookmakers compliant enough to knock it out.
Yeah, but I think probably for every successful one, there was probably a few unsuccessful ones.
Anything else you remember about those times with his antics?
I think. I mean, he always is saying these days, thinking outside the box. Well, he certainly did that. He found a firm who had 2 betting shops in Cheltenham called TNS. And this guy decided to lay sporting life prices. So I think he was in on it more or less from the beginning. And you'd look at the life in the morning and something would be forecast 7 to 1. If you'd done the work and looked at the form and done a tissue, you knew it was going to be a 7-4 chance. So we started off going in and having a 750s, and it became apparent that you could have a lot more on than that. Excuse me. I remember one day there was no Sporting Lives in Cheltenham, so I had to drive to Birmingham, get a Sporting Life, drive back to Cheltenham and put it through the letterbox, so that to make sure the betting office had a Sporting Life so that we could get on. I mean, I used to go up and settle up once a week, and you'd see you'd go down into a cellar and see all the names on the walls, all the needy and the greedy from the races were in there.
So would your dad would you have sort of grown up, did he teach, was he like your mentor, would he have taught you the fineries of studying the form and that sort of thing, is it?
Yeah, and bookmaking, I should say, he was more punter minded, but form book, yeah, I learned a lot. I learned a lot what to do, and I learned a lot not what to do, really. After that, I worked for a fella, Cliff Percival, at the races, and Clarked and tic-tacked. He was brilliant with figures, percentages, but a bit like one of your old governors, Jack Lynn. He was a bit overcautious. So I had the best of both of it, really. The figures and the punting. So.
Okay, and interesting that you said he taught you what not to do. What would be a golden rule of what not to do when it comes to studying form for anybody wanting to learn?
I didn't really mean studying form. I meant bookmaking, really. As you know, previously I said about J.O. Tobin. I mean, you don't want to go just doing that every day.
How long did that last for?
Well, he lost pitches and then went punting. So then that's when I started with Cliff.
Yeah, so I mean, how long did the guy lady at the Sporting Life probably last?
Oh, he lasted a fair while, really. He lasted long enough for me to buy my first house, anyway.
All right, Mark. So your bookmaking empire on course has gone down from, you told me, 25 racecourse pitches, and that included number 1 at Sandown, number 4 at Chester.
Yeah.
And they've just got Cheltenham, Ascot, Worcester, and Hereford. Why did you get rid of them?
Well, I think that the first auction of pitches at Sandown, I can't remember when that was, long time ago now. I think I bought sort of 20 pitches that day, and then added 1 or 2 onto it, including Sandown and Chester with a good friend of mine, Keith. And it was good to start with, but I just became very disillusioned after a while with the money not staying in the ring, just going all back onto the betting exchanges, and especially midweek racing now, it's just so sterile. I mean, I get no enjoyment from it. I still enjoy Ascot and Cheltenham, the festivals, which I still go there, and I just kept a couple of locals, Worcester and Hereford. Worcester gets quite a slating, but I love it.
What would be, if it wouldn't be very good today, would it? It's probably underwater.
Yeah.
What would be the worst problems facing racecourse bookies?
The worst problems? Well, it's just become like an everyday job that just go and green up, and it doesn't matter if a 33 to 1 or an even money chance win the races. It seems to make no difference. They win their few quid, whatever they win. I mean, and it's, I heard a guy somewhere the other day saying, oh, this has been 16, you can now lay 8. Or somebody will be in trouble, but this is a fella who will gladly lay 5 to 4 an even money chance and not realise that percentage wise he's worse off. Yeah,
so when you bought your pictures, I think it's sort of latter half of the 90s.
Yeah.
Which preceded the betting exchanges by about 5 years.
Yeah, was it that long?
Those first few years.
Oh, it was good.
How was it?
Yeah, very good. Yeah. But as I say, once the betting exchanges came in and people realised how to use them, it's just gone downhill.
Because when you had a lot of experience as a bookmaker
Yeah.
already before
Yeah.
you came in, but there was an awful lot of people that thought the golden goose had just
Oh,
laid
yeah.
the egg.
Yeah.
Did you earn off of them people?
Did I what? Sorry.
Did you earn off of those sort of people, the novices that came in
I
to show
expect
everyone
so.
how to do it?
Yeah. Yeah, I expect so.
So where was the where did your point-to-pointing sit and in those days? Did
Oh,
it have to
yeah.
take a back seat?
No, came first. If there was a point-to-point or a race meet, and I'd go pointing.
Okay, so you've also got one pitch at Nottingham Dogs Grounds.
I've always gone greyhound racing. I like it. I've made a book at Swindon, Coventry till that's shut, Hall Green until that's shut, and now at Nottingham. And I like it. I mean, it is on the exchanges, but we don't really we use it as a guide. And on a Saturday night, it's not on the exchange, so it's similar to pointing in. You need an opinion, you need to get your figures right, you need to get the prices right. Somebody comes in for a Three Monkeys, you're not going to bet up to that, generally. So you've got to be comfortable standing it.
Okay, so do you put in as much work studying the dog form and watching the videos as you do for...
No, I'm pretty useless at dog form and videos, to be honest, but I've got a very good man, Mark, who does it all.
So what would be... You touched on it a bit there, but what would be the big differences between betting on the dogs, betting on course on the rules at racing, and betting the point-to-points? And three different codes there.
No, it's all about the exchanges, isn't it? I mean, you go midweek, well, any racing on the race course, you don't need an opinion now. You just follow the machine, which it's not bookmaking for me.
Do you think that, given your knowledge of the form or your card marker, that if they early in the betting, if they sort of don't fancy a dog and it's evens on the machine, would you not go bigger to get it in and hope that he's right and it takes a drift anyway?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay, so what would be the biggest issue? I know you're only going to one track there, but what would be the biggest issue with dog racing at the minute?
I don't really know. We had the Derby at Nottingham last year, which Ben sponsored, and it seemed to work well.
And how was the finals night?
Finals night was really busy. Yeah, good.
Because I was doing a bit of publicity for the firm when they bet at Taos the year before.
Right.
And there was some colossal bets came in there, big cash bets that you
there was.
didn't see, it was like the old days on the racecourse. And there was at least one big hitter from Nottingham having a lot more than a monkey on.
Yeah.
So how do you, what happens if something like that comes up to you? Do you feel obliged to lay them the whole bet? And what do you do when you've got nowhere to go?
Oh, I think the guy you're talking about, he comes to Nottingham on a Monday night now. He only goes open racing, I think. And he wants plenty on, but Monday night, it is on the exchange if you want to use it. Or you can bet. He's pretty easy going. You can bet him whatever.
So would you get on a Monday night? I'm assuming it's not round.
No.
On a Monday, is there enough recreational money there to make it pay? Even though you've got a few sharky guys there.
Not really. Monday's quiet. It's more a weekend.
Okay, so what would you say has been the highlight of your career so far? What has been the biggest moment?
Oh, well, pointing or hunter chases. As I say, had a very good meeting last year at the Cheltenham meeting. I remember watching a horse run at Chadsley Corbett in a men's open, and thinking that was impressive. Going out, I think that might have been on a Sunday. Went out on the Monday to the William Hills, I think. 16-1 for the Fox Hunters, a horse called Kappa Blur, trained by Sheila Crow. And I managed to get there and elsewhere about $2,000 on it at 16, and it I think it started 7-2 or 4-1 favourite and won. That was pretty good.
Do you get emotional these things? Would we be seeing you jumping up and down in the stands screaming at home, or do you stand there and?
No, not really. I do get very passionate about my pointing. I love it just as much now, but no, I don't think I'll be jumping up and down.
Okay, now, from a bookmaker's point of view, what are the types of bets? This is trying to give the punters from a scrap here. What would be the type of bets that you really don't like to take? Apart from winning ones, that is, of course.
Obviously, each way in 8-9 runner races. I mean, at the races now, there's two completely different markets. There's people who bet win only, bookmakers I'm talking about, and bookmakers who bet each way. If it's an 8-horse race, there's an enormous difference between the win prices and the bookie betting each way, because the place terms, they're antiquated, they don't add up anymore. You can add up the place percentage on an 8-horse race, it probably comes to 82%. It's something's got to change about that.
Okay, a lot of bookies get pilloried for shortening them up when they bet each way, but obviously the figures are just necessity. It's a necessity that they have to do that.
Yeah, it doesn't add up.
So we're sitting in a very nice house here.
Thank you.
You've had a very successful career.
Mm-hmm.
What does the future hold for you? Would you hope?
I think it's just carrying on with my pointing, hunter chases. I've got not quite a few, but several sort of clients now who I don't put opinions on forums or Facebook or anything. So I've got a few who put money on for me. They come back year after year, so I must be doing something right.
So is that like a reverse sort of a tipping thing? You give them the money to put on, and then they stick their own on. Do they pay you for that, or are you employing them?
No, they usually put me 50 quid on or whatever it is, and I get the odds to that stake.
Right, got you. So people need to apply in writing for that job.
Yeah, they can do.
Brilliant. Well, thanks, Michael. Thanks very much.
All right, it was a pleasure.
Thank you.